You're listening to episode number 86 of the Transform Your Life from the Inside Out podcast. This is a Monday Q&A episode, and today I answer Paul's question. And Paul's question is this, pretty simple question. How do I heal physical ailments? I'm going to touch a lot on this episode about self-healing and from many different modalities. So if you want to learn how to self-heal, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Jim Fortin, and you're about to start transforming your life from the inside out with this podcast. I'm widely considered the leader in subconscious transformation, and I've coached super achievers all around the world for over 25 years. Here, you're going to find no rah-rah motivation and no hype, because this podcast is a combination of brain science, transformational psychology, and ancient wisdom all rolled into one to take your life to levels you've never thought possible. If you're wanting a lot more in life, to feel better, to heal, to have peace of mind, to feel powerful and alive, and to bring more abundance and prosperity into your life, then this podcast is for you, because you're going to start learning how to master your mind and evolve your consciousness. And when you do that, anything you want then becomes possible for you. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so in this episode, we're obviously going to talk about healing, physical healing. And I know at the end of the last episode, I made a mistake because obviously I tell you each and every week, at the end of the episode, what the next one's going to be. And I think that I said that, hey, the next episode is going to be, you're the creator and solution to all of your own problems. Well, I made a mistake. That's not today because today is Q&A, but that will be on Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. Okay, I'm sighing here. I'm like, okay, get ready. Because this is a big topic. Paul wrote this in, and he said that he's been waking up at night and he's been having some ear problems, and he's wanting to ask about self-healing. Okay, I want to say this first, is that we can heal. I mean, your body is designed to heal. Yet here in the West, in particular, what most of us do is we go to the doctor and say, hey, doc, what's wrong with me? I've got this pain, that pain. And the doctor says, oh, here's what's wrong with you, and I want you to take this pill and this medication, etc. And many times they're not really treating the root cause of what's making people ill. One of my good friends, one of my closest friends is an MD. And he said to me, he goes, doctors are not healers anymore. They are basically practitioners. They're I can't say this word, diagnosticians. I got it out, okay. Meaning they diagnose things and they prescribe a pill. And that's just rampant here in the United States, but I want to go here first. So Paul's question is how to heal physical ailments. So my direct response is we can heal. I mean, there's been world-class research, Harvard University, Stanford University, Columbia, the Mayo Clinic, overwhelming amounts of evidence to prove that we can heal ourselves. There was some research done at the Harvard Medical School a few years back, and what they discovered is that we can even actually accelerate our healing by 2/3 by using the power of the mind. I was watching a documentary one time. It was on hypnobirthing, meaning having a baby with no anesthesia, having the baby naturally and using the power of the mind and hypnosis for pain alleviation and elimination. And women that use hypnobirthing have 2/3 less complication. According to the Stanford Institute of Mind-Brain Research, people that use hypnosis prior to having surgery use 90% less anesthesia. So we have this mind-body connection, and here in the mind, including me, I mean, I didn't learn this from my parents. My parents were the type of parents when I was a kid, hey, there's something wrong with you, let's go to the doctor, let's poke some pills in you. So I never learned anything about power of the mind or healing or Eastern medicine or any of that, and I want to share some of that with you in this episode. The fact is this, research conclusively, and you see it in your own life, but I want to share something with you that is so profound and so simple, and you already know it, but actually, no, you don't know it. You understand it, because when you know it, it transforms your life. And that is that your body will follow your mind. There's a video on YouTube, I do not like the title of it, and it's called, This Video Will Hurt. Go look up the video, and it's all about the nocebo effect and the placebo effect, but in particular the nocebo effect, how things around us, just because we have certain thoughts about them or certain thoughts about illness, we can become ill. When we even have thoughts about illness or even think that we could become ill, the body will follow the mind. So again, the title of that video is This Video Will Hurt You. Will hurt, sorry. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the title, but once you watch the video, it will become more apparent to you that you have dominion over your body. I think when I started, I said, because as I said also before, I don't use any notes, that this is a huge episode. And the second that I saw it, I'm like, I definitely want to respond to this question. I definitely want to get to Paul's question. Here in the United States, 80% of the population is overweight. And then I don't know the exact statistics. Candidly, it's been a long day today. I didn't go look up the statistics. But of the 80% that's overweight, there is a large percentage of people that are dealing with the consequences of being overweight. In particular, look at diabetes here in the United States. I mean, overall, and I've said before, the United States really, when it comes to the population, isn't a physically healthy country. And then you look at big pharma, pharmaceutical industry. That is a $1 trillion industry. And the thing is this. Most people don't know they can heal. You have this power within you, every one of you, and I've given this example before, a very simple example. You cut your finger, and some of the worst cuts, I know you've had them before, and so have I, are like paper cuts, right? I mean, like, wow, these little things hurt. But you've had a paper cut on your finger, and you didn't sit there and you didn't say, well, let me meditate on my finger and let me think about it and let me pray. No, you put your Neosporin and your Band-Aid or whatever you put on it, and it heals itself. You have the ability to heal yourself, yet the majority of Americans don't know it, and especially around the world, majority of human beings. In one of my prior transformational coaching programs, I don't know, 6, 8, 9 months ago, this woman was talking about healing, and this was we were just getting started in the program, and I said we can heal, and she says, well, I don't. She goes, that's a great belief, and I believe you. I'm glad you have the belief, but I don't have that belief. Well, that's why you continuously stay ill, is because you don't work from the belief that you can heal. I mean, when I demonstrated or I said the paper cut, it heals. That proves that you can heal. And I think we all get that. But here's where most people actually, they just drop the ball and they miss it. You can use your unconscious mind and communicate, which we'll talk about in a minute, self-hypnosis, autosuggestion. You can direct your unconscious mind to heal your physical body. But like I said a few minutes ago, we don't do that. We go to the doctor. I've got this ache. I've got this pain. We go to the doctor, which in the United States, healthcare is a 3.5 with a T, $3.5 trillion industry. This is a Monday episode, and I want to keep it a little shorter, so I'm not going to go off, I'm not going to go off the deep end here. But in the U.S. alone, I mean, people, for the most part, don't eat food in the United States. They eat chemical garbage. If you go, like I only shop at Whole Foods for the most part, and I only shop on the outside of the store, all fresh vegetables. I know that anything that I were to buy that's packaged has preservatives, it has chemicals in it. But if you go into any just like air quote ordinary supermarket, and you just start going down the aisles and you read the labels, I mean, our foods in the U.S. are packed with chemicals. It's not even food. A couple of days ago, I was flying, and there were these people at TSA in front of me, and the dad, typical dad, he had his wife had the baby in the stroller, and the baby was probably 2.5, 3 years old. And the dad had to open up his suitcase, and he opened it up, and there were all these little cans of Pringles. I mean, Pringles is garbage, and they're feeding this to their baby. So we live in the U.S. and we wonder why so many people are ill, and it's a $3.5 trillion industry. It's because of the chemical garbage that people put in their bodies in the United States. Not only that, is the prescription industry. Big Pharma is a $500 billion a year industry in the United States. I'm going to be a little careful here because I haven't done research in several years. on this, but I remember doing some research, I don't know, 5 years ago, and I found some very credible research that said that in the United States, pharmaceutical companies, and I'm willing to be wrong on this, seriously, I mean, I don't have to be right about it, but I remember reading where pharmaceutical companies spend 4 times as much money on advertising as they do research and development. And here in the US, because we have listeners all over the world, I mean, geez, I don't really watch TV anymore. I generally watch Netflix if I'm watching anything, or Hulu or whatever. But if you watch commercial TV, which I do very rarely, you will see tons of commercials for Humira. And if you've got this disorder and that disorder and Crohn's disease and all this nonsense, which you can heal yourself from, you see it on all these commercials. And then ask your doctor about this medication and that medication and this medication. It's a $1 trillion industry. I'm going to step off the deep end here, and some people might want to argue, and that's fine. Number one, I'm not going to argue with you. And secondly, I don't care, but I'm going to just share something with you. Is that, again, this is controversial to some people, but I'm going to share with you what would happen to pharmaceutical companies, which is a $1 trillion industry. What would happen if everyone got well? Consider that and come to your own conclusions. What I want to share with you is that you can heal. Doesn't matter what you have. I'll talk a little bit about shamanism, because any of you that have been listening for any amount of time know my brother-in-law is a shaman, my sister's husband. And people come to him. He has a year-and-a-half waiting list. He's very, very inexpensive. I mean, I think he's $185 for a consultation, and he only needs to do one. And he helps people heal, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But I have seen in my lifetime healing after healing after healing after healing, using mind, using and directing the body, and using natural elements out in the world, which I'll talk about in just a minute. So, Paul, what I want to share with you is, you want to talk about healing. I want to say that there are many ways that you can heal. You can use traditional medical services, and I want to honor those as well, because guess what? If I were in a car accident, or I fell down and broke my arm, or something along those lines, I definitely would want to go to the emergency room or the trauma center or whatever. And all the things that happen out in the world, people having, physical trauma and accidents and burns and strokes and heart attacks, you definitely want to go to the emergency room, and you want to use Western modern medicine. No question about it. But what I want to add there, and so I respect traditional medical care. It has its place. But what I want to add there is that you can even supplement every bit of that by learning to direct the power of your mind to heal. I just thought about this. Well, actually, I'll get to it. Well, no, I'll just say it now, because I'll probably forget if I don't share with you. I remember when I lived in New York City, and my boss was a very, very well-known, very successful hypnotist 20 years ago when I worked there. And this gentleman said that he just fainted in his front yard one day, and he woke up and he was deaf in one ear and partially deaf in the other ear. And through regression using hypnosis, what was discovered, and it also restored the guy's hearing, believe it or not, I'm just telling you, I've seen this. What happened was his unconscious mind, subconscious mind, got so tired of hearing his wife nag that it made him partially deaf, so that he couldn't hear his wife nag. I also read, and I don't know where it was that I read it, and I tend, I know me, I know that I tend to read very legitimate stuff when it comes to healing the mind, the brain research, all that. I mean, I'm not reading the National Enquirer or any of that, or anything having to do with brain research. But I remember reading this one article one time where this guy was in an automobile accident, and he was paralyzed afterwards. He saw a hypnotist, and his age regressed prior to the accident, and he could walk. Now, that could be an isolated case, and I want to share with you, not every case is like that, but I have seen so many cases over the years of people healing using the power of their mind, that no matter what ailment you have, no matter what illness you have, here's something I read one time, and I want to share it with you, is that when it comes to healing, as long as you have power of the mind, you have hope. Consider that. As long as you have power of the mind, you have hope. And I have literally seen people have strokes and heal completely from that. I have seen people have stage 4 cancer and heal from that. I mean, and the list goes on and on and on of people that heal themselves from things, whether, and it's not just me, I mean, there's a lot of people talking about natural healing, when they learn to use, to direct, well, to learn and to direct the power of the mind to heal. Where I work from in my life is preventive care, in that I work preventive mentally, physically. I work with energy, everything from knowing how to work energy and qigong to tai chi to acupuncture and shamanism. What I've worked with for many years and that's helped me tremendously is things in the environment, natural herbs, which I'll talk about more in just a little bit. I'm not going to prescribe anything or any of that because I can't do that, but I'll just share some thoughts with you. So in this episode, I'm jumping around a little bit, but I want to talk about mind-body hypnosis, shamanism to some degree, herbs, and energy. What I want to say also, I am not a licensed medical doctor. I do not and cannot prescribe, I do not do any kind of diagnosis, and I cannot prescribe by law any kind of healing or any kind of anything. I am not a licensed healthcare professional. And if you're dealing with something, whatever it is in your life physically, I would suggest that you visit a healthcare professional, have blood work done, MRIs, CAT scans, whatever it is that licensed healthcare professionals recommend, and have it done, and then use things that I'm talking about in this episode to supplement your healing. I also want to caution you, and geez, I wanted to make this episode shorter, but I want to go here. Research has proven this, that if you subscribe to a doctor as an authority figure, meaning if you think a doctor is an end-all be-all, and a doctor says, yeah, I don't know, that's pretty tricky, it's going to take you a long time to heal, and you buy into that, guess what? You have just fixed your unconscious mind on taking a long time to heal. I have read medical research as well. People actually in surgery, they are actually after surgery later on, they go through hypnosis sessions and they can recall with great accuracy what was said while they were on the operating table. The point of that is if somebody's on the operating table and a doctor says, wow, this is like a really messy case, this person's going to take a long time to heal, that person will hear that. Why? Because you're not dead, just like when you're asleep. You know, you're asleep and you don't hear things, but you can hear the alarm clock. Same thing when you're under anesthesia. You can hear what's being said in the operating room. And my whole point is this, is many doctors affect people in very negative ways by using negative language, negative phraseology, or things like, well, you know what, you've only got, because you've seen this before, we're going to give you a 10% chance to live, and the person lives. You can have two people, and if one person buys into, well, the doctor gave me a 10% chance, basically I've got one foot in the grave and one on the banana peel. Well, guess what? You might want to, that banana peel is going to become very slippery. Other people are like, no way. No, doc, I'm going to live. I've got a new grandbaby, and I'm going to watch my grandbaby grow up, or kid or daughter or whatever. The body follows the mind. Me personally, I have not had a prescription since 1992. I lived in Atlanta, Georgia back then, and I was just getting involved in neurolinguistics, NLP. And I had a sinus infection. I didn't know what it was. I just felt like hell. I went to the doctor. I had a sinus infection and I had antibiotics, and that was 1992. The only other time that I've sought any kind of medical care that I needed was in, I don't know, I think 2009. I had an ear infection. Went to the doctor. They gave me antibiotics, and I don't know why I took them, but I actually took them home and threw them away. Because I know that there are things that I can use, like garlic and oregano, like oregano oil and water is like extremely potent, as is garlic. And I've always used elements to heal. So I'll talk about that in just a minute. What I'm wanting this general episode is you guys, all of you, that please accept the example of the finger. You can heal. Now, mind-body. There's a guy named Bruce Lipton, and I believe he wrote a book called The Biology of Belief, which is how belief affects your healing. Bruce Lipton has a lot of good, really good videos on YouTube. I recommend Bruce Lipton, Lipton. He's an MD, and he heavily talks about mind-body. There's another guy, Greg Braden, and he talks about consciousness and healing. So I do recommend that you do your own research. I mean, I'm not the end-all be-all when it comes to this. I can share a lot with you, but, go find other resources. And Bruce Lipton is credible, as is Greg Braden. And there's a program on Netflix. I've not watched it all. I watched part of it. It's probably a year old. And I didn't watch it all because I understand that already. And what I mean, working with a shaman for 20 something years, it's all about healing, healing the physical body. But Joe Dispenza, Dispenza, I believe, Joe Dispenza. When he says Dr. Joe Dispenza, I believe actually he is a chiropractor, not an MD. But I'm glad that these gentlemen and women putting stuff out too, I'm glad that these men are putting stuff out because I see so many people in the world in pain and they do not need to be in pain. Many years ago, when I lived in New York City and I worked at the Hypnosis Institute, according to the Stanford Institute of Mind Brain Research, the number one use of hypnosis is pain elimination and alleviation. And I had a lady one day that came for weight loss, and I don't know, 2 or 3 sessions, and she didn't tell me about her sciatic nerve and all that, sciatica. I think it's what is it, sciatic? I should know this. Is it sciatic? Anyway, sciatic or sciatica nerve. Anyway, she said, Jim, do you know how I know when I'm in hypnosis? And I said, no, I don't. And she goes, well, I know because I can't feel any of my nerve pain. And I said, you have pain? And she goes, oh my gosh, I have pain so bad that I can trace every step in the supermarket because I know how many steps it takes to get to something in the supermarket because of how much pain, so I consolidate my steps in the supermarket. And as I said, according to Stanford, which I have seen this over in my own life and clients, one of the greatest medical uses of self-hypnosis is pain elimination and alleviation. The person who taught me NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, she's about 80 now. We've been friends for a lot of years, and I know I've mentioned this in other episodes. One time I took her to the dentist, and she actually just used self-hypnosis. She told the dentist, give me a second. She literally numbed her own mouth using self-hypnosis and had them go to work. No Novocaine. I do want to point out also that when people would call me for pain, they've got pain and they want me to do hypnosis to eliminate the pain, I would not do it unless I had a note from a physician saying that the pain was obviously like shoulder pain or something. What I wanted to make sure of is if they've got headaches, I wanted to make sure that it's not a brain tumor or something going on, wrong in the brain where they need medical care. Or pains that I knew that it could be, there's something else wrong with them. I would literally always have people go to a doctor first to clear them to be able to use hypnosis. But back to what I was saying earlier, people staying in pain. There was a guy I knew in New York one time. He was a super, and in New York City, every building has doormen and supers, superintendents. We call them supers. We call them. But he was always in pain, and I have to say he wasn't the wisest guy that I know. But every day he was limping, and I'm like, Bobby, what's going on? And he goes, I've got really, really bad back pain, and he's walking with a cane. And I said, Bobby, I can help you with that. And he's like, how? What do you do? How can you help me? And I said, Bobby, I told him all the things that I told you guys. And he goes, okay, let me get back to you. Now, if it were me, I would be like, when can you get started? But he goes, let me get back to you. I saw him a few days later and I said, hey, Bobby, would you like me to help you with your pain? And he said, oh, no, no. He goes, I talked to the union. Hypnosis is not endorsed by the union, therefore I can't use it. Um, okay, stay in pain. And I didn't say it like that, but I was just flabbergasted. But I'm sharing with you, you can use hypnosis, empower the mind. Google it. Go to YouTube, Google it. You can use this to eliminate pain. But again, I'm going to be repetitive. Check with your medical health care professionals. I want to make sure that there's nothing seriously wrong with any of you before you use this to start healing yourself. There's also a book. I've not read it all, but I've heard some rave reviews about it because I generally use the self-hypnosis. But there's a book called, and I've heard people rave about it, as I said, called The Great Pain Deception. I do not know the author of it, but when I started reading the book, I read the first chapter and I'm like, yeah, this guy gets it. The guy really gets it because his whole premise is that what's happening in the body is a reflection of the mind. And I've learned that many, many years ago working with a shaman and also being a hypnotist. I noticed people that had the most physical ailments also had mental ailments. Let me just jump around here a little bit also. When I have what I would call I've got to be careful what I say here. Shoulder pain. Let's take that. If I've got shoulder pain or lower back pain or something like that, I mean, I'm in this bag of skin like you guys are. I mean, I've got a body and I'm on the planet. What I will do many times is I'll talk to my body, which I talked a little bit, I think, about in the last episode, and I'll say, what's this about? What's causing this pain? What is this about? And I listen to what my body says to me about why I've got the shoulder pain or this pain or that pain in my body. Let's talk about shamanism for a second. I've talked about it, as I said, my brother-in-law is a shaman. I've worked with him for a lot of years. And shamans are healers for the most part. You have light shamans. They work in the light. They work for healing and love and light. And you've got dark shamans, the yin and the yang. My brother-in-law works in the light. He's a healer. People come to him. His waiting list is a year and a half long. He's very inexpensive. But I remember several years ago, I could sit here and literally give you guys 20 examples of things that he has told me to take that have cleared my body in many ways with ailments. But I'll give you two. I tend to be very healthy, and many years ago, I didn't know this. I was eating a lot of sugar on a daily basis, thinking I was eating healthy, meaning I would eat like 2 yogurts a day, and I was drinking a glass of orange juice a day, eating fruit, stuff like that, all organic, blah, blah, blah. And I developed candida, which is an overgrowth of bad yeast in your stomach. And it was causing me to be lethargic and all these kind of things. And I told my brother-in-law, and he goes, this is what I want you to do. And he gave me a list of about 5 different herbs, and he goes, here, get online, go to this company, get these 5 herbs. Then what I want you to do is I want you to boil them in 1 gallon of vodka. Then what I want you to do is I want you to strain it. I want you to put it in a clear plastic jar, and I want you to put a spotlight on it for 11 days, shake it every day. I want you to put it in a closet for 11 days, shake it every day. Make sure it's dark. Now it's ready to take. Take a teaspoon before every meal. Within a week, my candida was completely cleared up. I'm a little reluctant to share this with you guys because I'm just sharing this that there are ways to heal. I had a little bitty sebaceous cyst on the back of my neck about a year ago. And it grew very, very quickly, and I was very concerned about it. No, not concerned, that's not the right word. I was like, okay, what's going on here? Now, again, he's a shaman. He can see into your body. And I said, hey, I've got this tumor on my neck. And he goes, who told you it was a tumor? And I said, well, nobody. He goes, it's not a tumor, it's a sebaceous cyst. And what happened is it got infected, so it got red and inflamed and all that. And he goes, I want you to go get, and by the way, none of you, I'm telling you to cover my butt, none of you do this, go see your healthcare professional. But he said, I want you to get bentonite clay, which many of you know that clay pulls like oil out of the body. Go get aloe vera gel, bentonite clay, and burdock herb. Mix them in a little poultice, put it on your neck. Within 5 days, that entire cyst had completely disappeared on my neck. And I have story after story after story. The only reason that I tell you that is because there are many ways to heal. But the most powerful way to heal is preventive, is using nature and using herbs, because the pharmaceutical industry, in their products, they use synthetic versions of things that you're going to find in herbs. And I'll leave it at that. Please just do your own research, every single one of you. Get online and just Google and be judicious in what you're looking at, because there's a lot of crackpots out there in any industry. In the regular medical industry, there's a lot of crackpots out there. And in the holistic industry, there's a lot of crackpots out there. Just be judicious and careful with the information that you look up and be smart with it. But you can heal. Also, here's a big thing, is that your mind will affect your healing and your thoughts, because every thought you have affects the cells in your body, and your cells communicate. And if you have thoughts that I'm going to be sick, and this is going to take a long time to heal, and I'm not going to be over this, and I'm in pain every day, and that's just the way that it is, you are literally directing your cells to communicate to give you the outcome that you're talking about. So be very careful, which I've talked about in another episode. Be very, very careful with the words that you speak to yourself about your physical ailments. I talk to my body, and I've learned years ago how to talk to my body to keep it well, to keep it healthy. Let me give you a common mindset. Thought process, not mindset, but a common thought process in healing, and I notice this is across the board. Generally speaking, people who heal have an expectation of healing. So every one of you listening, with whatever's going on in your body, whether it be knee pain or arthritis and all these kind of things that doctors will tell you, you know what, there's nothing we can do. Let's poke a pill in you and you just live with it. And billions of people live with unnecessarily with pains that they don't need to live with, but they don't have any other options. They don't know what you're learning here. Be very careful what you put into your mind, because that'll be more powerful than any pill you can put into your body. And research demonstrates that with the placebo effect. And there is a lot of high-level conclusive evidence that actually validates the placebo effect and nocebo effect. And what you put in your mind is the placebo and nocebo effect mentally. So Paul and the rest of you, Paul talks about an ear issue. Well, what I would say is visit a doctor and see what's going on there first. And if they say we can't find, we don't know. And a lot of people go to the doctor and doctors say, we don't know. We've not seen this before. We just can't figure it out. Then I would definitely suggest that you explore self-hypnosis, do your own research online, perhaps visit a hypnotist in your area. I would look into acupuncture, which has done amazing things for my body. I would look into herbal healing. Herbal healing has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and it's very, very powerful, very powerful. I would look into these things if I were you. Okay, so your transformational takeaway, plain and simple, this episode, you can heal yourself. You can heal yourself. Go back, I don't know the number 5, number 8 in this series in my podcast, and listen to the episode on the power of your subconscious mind and actually it's on subconscious reprogramming, but I mentioned a book in there. It's the book by, I think, Joseph Murphy, and it's called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Your mind is so extraordinarily powerful that it can keep you healthy for the rest of your life, or it can kill you, and that is your choice. So your takeaway is that you can heal your body. Okay, stay with me for a second. We're coming up to the middle of January, and research demonstrates that for any of you that made resolutions and set your goals, that in about 10 days, the third week of January, 92% of you will have fallen off track. And that is why, for right now, I don't have the links. I don't think my team has it done or any of that. But on January the 21st, which is, 10 days from now or something. I don't know when it is, but soon, on January the 21st at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, January 21st, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'm going to be doing a training on why you've already fallen off track for the year and how to get back on track and stay on track using your brain and the way that your brain works. So mark your calendar for January 21st, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Details will be coming. Okay, now the next episode, which I'd mentioned in the last episode, I think number 87, is you're the creator and the solution to all of your own problems. All right, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you over on another episode. And definitely, because you're marking your calendar and you want to learn how to use your brain to stay on track and to achieve your goals and create what you want in life, I'll also catch you on a no-charge training on January the 21st at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Details will be coming. All right, thanks for listening. Make it a great day today. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this entire podcast. If you're the kind of person who likes to help others, then share this with your friends and family. You know, if you found value, they will too. So please share via your social media channels. Also, if you have questions, I'm here to assist. You can email me questions to support@jimfortin.com, and I may even use your question for a future podcast episode. Also, if you want transformational content like this daily, connect with me on Instagram. My Instagram name is I am Jim Fortin. Finally, I do have a personal request. I believe that we're all here to help others and to grow and evolve ourselves. Together, you and I, let's help more people. If you would please leave a review on iTunes, and a good one, by the way. I'd be grateful, and through your assistance together, we can transform more lives. Thanks for listening.